before we go into the topic for today, can you remind our audience what alternative investments are and why are we talking about alternative investments?
We're talking about alternative investments because that's a trend that we are seeing in the world of investment. So that's why we're talking about them. But we are also talking about them because that's where the smart money is going. Smart money is, and these are not my words, these are the words of people that have written books. So far, I've referred to you, I've referred to 2 books that are telling us as much. And the point that we are highlighting there is that things are shifting. And as an investor, it's very, very important to follow the trend. I like Warren Buffett. I like what Warren Buffett stands for. But let's just realize that Warren Buffett made his money in a different industrial revolution. And I always wonder if he would be able to maintain his investment record in the 4th industrial revolution. We've entered the 4th industrial revolution. And I think in the 4th industrial revolution, investment works slightly different. And that's the point that we are highlighting. So back to your question, Tafadzo, what are alternative investments? I think traditionally, there have been traditional investments that could be divided into 3. So the traditional investments are stocks, bonds, or fixed income instruments, and also, cash. Those are traditional investments. That's what people have traditionally invested in. Anything that is not a traditional investment is what we are calling an alternative, investment. So if you think of all the other things that people are investing in, maybe commodities, maybe cryptocurrencies, maybe real estate, all of those things, and we can't put a number to how many alternative investments there are. In fact, in the book that we spoke about today, the writers, they analyzed, more than 41 alternative investments. So there are quite a number of alternative investments. And even when we look at access to alternative investments today, Tafadzo, I don't think we'll be able to exhaust all the alternative investments that there are. But before I hand over back to you, Tafadzo, I would want to talk about the trends in South Africa, because these books that I have referred to were not written in South Africa, they were written in America. And it's always good to look at trends, in South Africa. Let's look at trends in South Africa. There was a survey that was done, last year. And that survey was done, strictly. There were about 1,300 participants, in that survey, including 200 investment advisors. And they were looking at alternative investment trends in South Africa, not in any other African country, but, in South Africa. And one of the conclusions from that trend and from that survey is that South Africans are turning to alternative investments, including solar and cryptocurrencies. I think in previous, this does not come as a surprise to me, Tafadzo, because in previous shows, I told you about how we had noted, increasing investments in the, renewable energy space. So that did not come as a surprise, to me. What this survey is saying is that investments in cryptocurrency, investments in private equity, and investments in solar are the highly popular, investments in South Africa, at the moment. The other things that come out of these investments, out of this survey, is that cryptocurrency is the most popular alternative investment for individual investors. So in 27% of the cases, cryptocurrency came number 1. Private equity at 12% is the second most popular alternative investment, only slightly ahead of solar and renewable energy. So the three most popular alternative investments in South Africa are cryptocurrency, private equity, and solar. And they're expecting that over the next 2 years, solar or renewable energy will be the most popular alternative investment segments for investors. In fact, of those that were surveyed, 23% expressed interest in that class of solar. But the other thing that comes out of this survey is that 79% of investors plan to increase their allocation to these alternative investments. The other findings are that 64% of individual investors invest in alternative investments. So more than 50%, more than half, at 64%, actually have alternative investments in their portfolio. 65% of financial advisors offer alternative investments to their clients. And 69% of investors allocate between 1 to 10% of their portfolio to alternative investments. 38% of investors expect alternative investments to generate high returns, right? And then over 75% of both investors and financial advisors favor having exposure to both local and offshore alternative investments. So let's not get lost in the numbers. Themba, what are you trying to communicate? Let's go back to the key points. Key point number one, the world of investment is changing. Governments all over are democratizing alternative investments. It's something that we spoke about last week. It's an observation that was made by the writer of the book last week, that these alternative investments have been only open to a few rich, qualified investors. But we are living in an age where we are seeing a democratization of the alternative investment space. And so the key takeaway from this show is that consider having alternative investments in your portfolio. That's all we're saying, here. You will know what we have advised our audience to do. First, learn investments through the traditional investments. Learn how the investment world works. And then once you have learned how the investment world works, go into alternative investments. You go there in search of higher returns. You go there as part of a diversification strategy. We explained how diversification, works. The second thing that we are saying there is that at the end of the day, we must see a trend before it evolves. Don't join the trend after it's already emerged. The most mistake that many people make in the world of investment is that you want to join in a trend after the trend has gathered momentum. By that time, there is not much money to be made. There is an emerging trend at the moment around renewable energy. There is an emerging trend around agricultural assets. There is an emerging trend around, artificial intelligence. If I were to put my finger on 3 emerging themes in the world of investment, and when I talk about emerging themes, I'm talking about, trends that are developing that we need to think about and potentially capitalize on. Myself, I know I'm late to the trend, but I'm beginning to look at AI, not only from utilizing AI, but also from investing in interesting AI companies. So analyzing AI companies that are likely going to be a success, going forward. That's one of the things that I'm looking at, because definitely, the AI trend is here to stay. And those are some of the things that I'm beginning to do. And I would advise you to, do, those things. there is one thing that I want to highlight, which has been on my heart, for a very, very long time. In fact, there are three things that I want to highlight. I might as well just get it off my heart. Point number one, in Africa, we tend to be consumers of technology, consumers of trends. Have you ever seen how people brag to each other, and say, look at the latest iPhone that I have bought, whatever iPhone it is, look at the latest Samsung that I have bought. It seems in this part of the world, we are consumers of technology that has been made elsewhere, and we pride ourselves on consuming. We never really take the time to innovate and to think about what it is that we can do. I'm going to talk about alternative investments, access. One of the way to access alternative investments is to be part of crowdfunding attempts to fund initiatives in solar, renewable energy, and other initiatives. So as part of what you are investing in, instead of just being a consumer, just use your money, your hard-earned cash, to invest in emerging trends and support some of these crowdfunding initiatives that are taking place. I will not mention anyone in particular, but one way of accessing some of these alternative investments is to be part of a crowdfunding platform where you can actually, contribute your small amount into a project that is starting on alternative investments. There is no harm in doing that. I think we've seen quite a number of crowdfunding platforms being put in place and small amounts being raised as part of crowdfunding, because these are alternative ways of raising capital that we are seeing more and more here. So the first point that I just wanted to highlight is, let's just not be a consumer society. Let's just look at where the trends are, look at the, invest our hard-earned cash into, all these interesting things, particularly capitalizing on the three trends that I have highlighted. So that's one thing that I wanted to just get off my heart. The second thing that I want to get off my heart, it's something that I mentioned last week as well, Tafadzo, is the number of scams that I'm beginning to see in the alternative investment space. We're talking about a trend that is emerging. The bad thing about a trend is that fraudsters also follow these trends much more than we think. They are noticing these trends. I spent about 2 hours on a call with somebody who had an English accent. He claimed that his name is Charlie Williams. This guy had a well-designed website. I'll not mention the name of this website. The website worked. It was able to generate an OTP, for me to put my details so that I could invest on an alternative investment. He was actually claiming that he's based in China. And in fact, when I went to the website, I think what these people did is that they made a duplicate of a legit company, right? And when they made a duplicate of that legit company, they actually, drive investors to that, company. And, the reason why I was able to entertain this guy for 2 hours, as he explained to me intricate details about this investment scheme and how I was going to get 60% return in 30 days. The reason why I was able to entertain him was I just wanted to understand how scams have developed, these days. And I got to understand that these people target, they target you. I don't know where they got my number from, but obviously they knew that I have got some amount of capital to invest. They knew that I speak about financial education, and obviously they targeted me. So they called me. Initially, I was called by a junior person who said, we're not selling you anything, but my senior will speak to you and will call you. I just wanted you to know our company and what we do. And then the director then spoke to me for 2 hours. That's when I realized that there are scams, out there. So point number one, don't ever give your personal information to anybody, just because they have appeared, legit. Number two, don't part with your hard-earned cash without doing any due diligence. And then number three, don't ever invest on a platform that is not regulated. I spoke to you about how the Financial Sector Conduct Authority in South Africa has given operating licenses to 59 operators. These are people who will legitimately operate these schemes, even when it comes to crowdfunding platforms, because this is part of the access that is being developed for the common man as part of a process of democratizing alternative investments. There is a downside to it. We're going to see scammers invade this space. Don't ever part with your money on the basis of a presentation of how people have made ridiculous returns. At the end of the day, even if it's alternative investments, it must be regulated. And so it's a simple question. In fact, this guy wanted me to part with my money. He said, look, Themba, you're very lucky. All we need for you to invest is 300,000 rands. And I assured him that I had the money. I could liquidate my investments on the JSE and transfer 300 rands. And then he said, it's not a problem. He will purchase the alternative investment for me using the funds of the company. And then all I had to do was to pay for the purchase after the 3 days of settlement of the funds, which is how normally how long the JSE takes to settle, any transaction. As you would know, stock exchanges operate on a T+3, settlement process. In other words, from the day that you book the transaction to the day that the transaction is settled is about 3 days. So be careful about these trends. People are being scammed, and I'm talking to, and we have seen deep fakes. A deep fake is part of this technology where people will actually imitate Elon Musk's voice. And you will go on the website and somebody who's called Elon Musk is actually promoting an investment in some project. These things have been happened. With the deepfake technology, anybody can take Themba's voice, Themba's face, and imitate Themba, and Themba is promoting this kind of investment. And that's the world that we are living in. It's becoming a very, very sophisticated, world. So it's just one thing that I wanted to get off my chest. The third thing that I want to get off my chest is that, like everything with in the world, investment is a long-term game. It's not a short-term thing. There is nothing like you will make 100% return in 1 month. So greed is something that we should guard against, particularly when astronomical figures are being spoken about. Just guard yourself there. So those were 3 things that I wanted to just get off my chest. But over to you, Tafanzo.
Thank you very much, Themba. I was just thinking